This is Jeff Gomez, Marketing Director at UpNest. Today, I'll be speaking with Scott McManaway with Compass Real Estate. Scott is a top agent with UpNest who works in the Denver area. He brings his clients 18 years of experience and consistently sells over 200 homes each year. Scott, you're one of our top agents here at UpNest. To what do you attribute that success?
I think it's a great question. I appreciate the compliment. I think, to be honest with you, it's a couple things. I'm very familiar with the internet lead world. I had a great mentor that, obviously, helped me kind of dive into that world. And, I utilize UpNest and a couple other internet lead platforms. And I think it's a niche market, and it's one of those opportunities that are provided to us as agents, but I think they are, sometimes a little bit different than, a referral-based agent or somebody that just does, kind of their sphere of business. It's being able to get on the phone as soon as possible. The cliche saying of speed to lead, reaching out to the client, introducing yourself, and just being a human being. A lot of times, as you guys know, they're getting calls from 3 to 4, 5, 6 agents. A lot of times if they go to UpNest or another platform, they're not just filling out one inquiry. Traditionally, they're, filling out and putting their information on several platforms, and they're just getting bombarded. So if you can reach out to them immediately, build some sort of rapport, not obviously have pressure, but just let them know you're here to answer any questions, that they're going to get calls from a lot of people, and that you want to be a resource for them. And, that's what I think is provided me a lot of success, is just being a human being and chatting with these people. I think I take real estate for granted because I'm in the trenches every day. And, I just closed a deal with UpNest yesterday morning. The guy had lived in the property for 20, 25 years, and they just don't know those ins and outs of how a transaction's going to flow. It was ironic, but he called me Wednesday of last week and said, "How much money do I owe you? Do I bring a check to closing?" And it made me chuckle because, of course, commissions and costs and fees and everything are just taken out of the proceeds. But I think it's just one of those things that we forget as agents because we do it every day.
How much of your job is educating the client? It's a really complicated process for a lot of people.
Yeah, it is confusing. And, I think with the internet, a lot of people can do a ton of due diligence. I think there's a ton of great information out there. I think there's a lot of misleading information out there as well. So, I would say the younger demographic is pretty educated on it. I think they've seen their parents go through buy and sell houses, and they've paid attention. I think real estate has become, more sexy, if you will, the last couple of years with reality TV shows and things like that. So I think the younger demographic has a little bit better of a grip on it, where, the older demographic traditionally doesn't move that often. So they haven't been involved in electronic signatures and things like that. So I think, it's kind of a mix. I work obviously in the Denver metro area, and demographics all over the place. You have a ton of young people moving here, and some of the older demographic cashing out and going to retire elsewhere. So it really depends on the client, but it's nice to sit down and just kind of walk somebody through the process and help them understand it, make sure they feel comfortable.
Definitely. How long have you been doing this for? And how has your career changed over the years?
So I've been involved in real estate for about going on 16 years. I spent the first part of my career down in South Florida in Naples. That's where I grew up and started my real estate career. I've been in the Denver metro area going on 9 years now. I would say the last 9 years that I've been in the Colorado, that internet lead world has just taken off. Especially with people moving to the Denver metro area and not knowing anybody, not knowing an agent, jumping online, trying to find an agent, looking at reviews. I mean, Tom Ferry, I believe, said it best, we live in a review world. You can jump on Google and search my name and find reviews, from real life customers. And I think, just like any business, that speaks volumes. So I think that that's definitely taken off, and it's been a huge part of my business, coming to Denver. And not knowing a lot of people, not having a huge sphere, it's given me an opportunity to get in front of other clients that I necessarily, probably wouldn't have met elsewhere.
Yeah, that makes total sense. And the review aspect of our current world is such an interesting one. How do you make sure that like you get good reviews? Because like you were saying, reviews are everything now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, well, I think good reviews are just as important as not getting a bad review. And I think, it is a very important thing, but, I operate this in kind of real life too. And I always try to take a step back and go, not a lot of people want to write a good review, right? They usually just want to write a review when they're pissed off. And that's, one of the things that, I think agents have to be conscientious of as well is, reaching out to the clients that you had a good relationship with, you had a good experience with, and just asking them if they don't mind writing a review. I'm fortunate that I've had a couple, negative remarks, and that's just because, we're dealing with the open public, and not everybody's going to get along and have a good experience. And it's always my, utmost priority to provide a good experience. Sometimes just, certain personalities don't collide well, or, there's things that are out of our hands as far as the transaction goes where people felt like it went sideways. But, I think it's really advocating towards your biggest fans as an agent, your repeat clients, and just saying, hey, do you mind, writing me a review if you have 5 minutes? And then, again, some people just jump on there and do it on their own, which is fantastic as well.
Speaking of client relationships, is there ever any tension between being friendly and personable with the client and also the moving them forward in the process for this very important financial transaction?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. Really great question. I always tell people when I sit down with them, whether I'm meeting them in their home or a coffee shop or I've met them on the street and we're talking about real estate, I've been doing this long enough. I want to work with people that want to work with me. I want it to be a good experience. I want it to be a fun experience. It shouldn't be, some people are just wound a little bit more tight, and it's always going to be stressful for them. And that's just where you try to hold their hand and guide them through that process and, keep their mind at ease and let them know that you have their back and that, we're going to get to the finish line together and I'm not going to let anything happen to you. I always try to become friends with my clients, though. I mean, I enjoy my job. I enjoy meeting new people and their families and their children and things like that. So it's always trying to build rapport and a friendship with somebody, because I'm not looking just to sell them a home one time and never speak to them again. I would like them to come meet, me and my significant other for dinner or for drinks, or we throw client appreciation parties. I want to see these people again. So I want to know them on a personal level. But I always tell people at the same time, you're not always going to like what I say. I'm always going to be honest with you. And I think that's the most important part. And sometimes honesty can be misconstrued. And but I'm always going to give you, my honest opinion of how I feel about, negotiations or pricing or, whatever that might be. And I hope that doesn't take away from our relationship. But at the same time, you did hire me to, do a job for you. And I'm going to do it, based on my past experience and knowledge.
Yeah, totally agree. I mean, this is the most important transaction of most people's lives. So like, it's super important that the real estate agent is honest and transparent, and, no matter how much they like the person they're working with, that they tell the truth and that they say what's really going on. I think that's really, really important.
I think honesty is everything. I mean, just being as transparent as possible, like you said, I think is key. That way, trust in this is huge. So I need them to trust me and I will trust them. And again, they are completely in control, but I'm always going to give you my opinion.
Yeah, I think that's a great way of looking at it. Switching gears a little bit, how has COVID-19 affected you and the way that you do business?
It's been an interesting couple of years. I think everybody was kind of learning on the fly. I can only obviously speak to here locally. We were shut down for, 4 months, maybe a little bit less than that, where we couldn't do in-person showings. That was completely banned, which was interesting times. We, as agents, found a creative loophole with guidance of, some of our superiors of, we could write an offer on a property that was on the market and put a contingency in the contract that it was based upon the buyer visually seeing the home within, 24, 48 hours, whatever that timeline might be. And you would walk into the home and, if it checked a lot of the boxes, then you continue on with the contract. If not, then you terminated that contract and walked away. And I think buyers and sellers were, both navigating uncharted territories and were understanding of, us as agents still trying to help buyers and sellers. And this is the way we had to maneuver that. So that was the initial speed bump. Thankfully that loosened up. But, a lot of people still wanted to do Zoom meetings, still wanted to really interview over the phone or more over Zoom prior to where, in a traditional world, hey, come on over, take a look at my house. I always think, obviously, it's important when I'm working with a seller that I see their property because that's the product that, I'm going to be selling for them. But I think a lot of the upfront questions and interviews were handled more remotely. Again, thankfully, that is loosening up and people are getting a little bit more comfortable with, COVID settling down and vaccines happening. I still have clients that want to wear masks and gloves and want to social distance when I'm in their property. And, it's a strange world still. And whatever anybody's comfortable with is how I operate. So you just kind of, feel each individual person out and what they, how they operate and how they want to handle things and just kind of move along that way.
Yeah. Which of these changes due to COVID do you think are here with us permanently? Just as it relates to real estate and as it relates to what you do?
I guess it doesn't directly correlate to real estate, but it does in the long term. I think we're still going to see a lot of people work remote for quite some time. I think that will save companies an overhead of offices. I think people can be more productive, in certain, industries at home. So I think that has just changed. How that correlates to real estate is just where people want to live and how they want to live, right? Whether that be, do I need to be in a 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom, condo downtown where I can walk to my office, or, can I move a little bit further outside of the city, have a little bit more, square footage and freedom and things like that. So I just think it's changing where people live.
Yeah, I bet you've had a lot more people asking about home offices now.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, one of the dining rooms are kind of out of style, and dining rooms I think have become the new home office, right? Where and I have clients that are in smaller homes or condos, and they're working from their dining room table every day, and that has become the home office. So just allocating space in whatever property you're in, I think is just changed everybody's mindset.
Yeah, remote work has allowed we moved up to outside the Seattle area recently in this nice house,
beautiful
nice
area,
view, and like much cheaper than anything that we could have gotten in the Bay Area. And like you said, I'm not exactly working at the dining room table, but I'm in the den. I'm just, in this large space, which is really nice. My wife is working upstairs. So I love it personally. But yeah, I can see how it's totally changed the real estate world.
Totally. I mean, you had a mass influx of people exiting the city,
right?
Even in short-term rentals, not necessarily sales, but just getting out of downtown to, find a place with a backyard where they can sit outside and, pop their laptop open and take a call, whatever that might be. So it changed everybody. And I think, some of those trends will continue to stay that way.
You want to roll the dice and take a guess as to what's going to happen to housing prices in like the next 6-12 months?
Ooh, I wish I had a crystal ball. Obviously inflation's a scary thing. I mean, that is, I think, top of mind for a lot of people. I can only speak to here locally. We still have very limited inventory. So until we get more inventory, I just don't see prices even necessarily plateauing. I think we've seen some peaks and valleys this year. I was speaking with Sarah earlier and mentioned quarter two was unlike any quarter I'd ever seen in 16 years of selling real estate. Just the amount of offers, the amount of competition, the terms some of the buyers were having to offer for a seller to accept it. I think it evened out Q3 here in the Denver metro area. And traditionally when we get closer to the holidays, inventory shrinks up again. And I think that constricts the market. We're starting to see a little bit of that already, which is causing prices to jump back up. If interest rates continue to stay, historic lows, affordability still there, I think we'll still see an increase. I really honestly do.
Yeah, we're renting this house now, and I think every month for the past 2 years now, we've said, "Hey, if we wait a little bit longer, prices will plateau." But whenever we talk to an expert, they always say, "Nope, they're probably still going to go back, continue to go up." So bad news for us.
Yeah, I mean, but I've spoke to clients 4 or 5 years ago. They go, "Hey, we're going to wait for this to settle out. We're going to wait for this to settle out." And
right.
You've seen here in the metro area, double-digit appreciation year over year, which is remarkable for people that bought in, and it's made a lot of people a lot of money. But with interest rates being cheap, homes are still very affordable. Especially compared to what you just mentioned, the Bay Area, the West Coast, things like that.
Right.
Denver still has some attractive price points.
Yeah. Hey, Denver's on our list. We might make our way out there.
I know a good realtor.
So let's talk about you as a realtor a little bit. What's the most important thing for a client to understand about you and the way that you work?
I think they need to know that, going back to my comment earlier on another topic, it's just, honesty and transparency, and communication. I am always available to my clients. I know there's agents that shut things off at 5 p.m. and 6 p.m. and I respect that. Everybody operates a different way. But, when I signed up for this career many, many years ago, it's one of those careers that affords me a ton of freedom but at the same time, I need to be available to clients. So it's one of those things that if a client has a question, there's no stupid question. Again, I do this every day. They don't. If they need something, call me. I think all my clients would vouch for me that they can call me, text me. And if I'm not in a meeting or having dinner with my family, I'm going to get back to you right away. And I think that's important because we do make good money doing what we do. And I think that's the service that should be provided to, your clients. A lot of times these people are in your lives for 30, 60, 90 days, sometimes longer. And, I talk to, sometimes clients more than they talk to their spouses, during that period of a transaction. And, with guiding them through the process, I think just being available is huge. In addition to that, education. Been doing this a long time. I still learn new things every day, but I think it's important to educate myself and educate clients as to what's changing in the market and how I can best help them.
That's funny that sometimes you talk to people more than they talk to their spouses. I can totally see that. We were looking for a house more aggressively a couple months ago, and we were definitely harassing our agent to get us information and get us into the listings. Not obviously harassing, but talking to them a lot.
No, yeah, tongue in cheek, but yeah, and in a market like this, I understand that. When things move as quick as they do, or the new listing comes on that checks all the boxes, they're going to call me or text me right away, and they're going to text me before they text their spouse. And a lot of times I'm on group text with whoever is involved in the transaction, whether it be spouses or mom and dads. There's always numerous people involved in the deal, and sometimes those phone calls come directly to me before it hits the group text, and I'm going, hey, I'll see you guys there in a couple hours, whatever that might be. So it is a very intimate relationship, again, for however long it takes and whatever they're looking to accomplish.
Yeah, totally. Speaking of things moving quickly in this market, let's say you're selling a client's home. What do you do to make sure that the home is sold quickly and for a good price?
Yeah, I think, again, that's just education on the forefront of the first time I walk in the door. Again, I think being honest with people if we need to make a change, whether that be paint colors, decluttering, possibly doing a little updates. Sellers have been very fortunate the last, for several years, but, especially within the last 18 months where there's not a lot that needs to be done because they can rely on the market and the lack of inventory. But there are things that need to be done in properties to potentially make us more money. And I just give my clients options. Here's option A, B, and C, and whichever one you feel most comfortable with, here's our potential outcomes. Again, I never have a crystal ball of where we're going to hit as far as price point goes, but I feel educated enough that I'm going to put them in the best position possible to make the most money, as quick as possible with the least amount of headaches.
Gotcha. I think that's a good way of looking at it.
Yeah.
Let's talk about real estate agents for a second.
Mm-hmm.
What advice would you have to people who want to go into being a real estate agent, and then also who are real estate agents now, but maybe aren't hitting the goals they want to hit?
Ooh, great question. Don't get involved in real estate. No, I'm joking. I think when we're in a market like we're in right now, and I just had this conversation yesterday with actually a family friend that wants to get involved in real estate. Everybody's got to start somewhere. And I think a lot of agents, discourage newer agents, don't come in this market, I think that is necessarily maybe not the right way to look at those people. I think educating somebody that potentially wants to get into real estate that it's not $1 million listing, right? It's not Sunset, whatever the one is on Netflix, the reality TV show. It takes a lot of hard work. It takes a lot of working weekends, late nights, stresses. We don't get a paycheck. And somebody that is brand new to this business, the failure rate is absurd. So I think it takes grit and tenacity to make it through, your first 12, 24 months. But if you stay committed, like anything in life, I think you can have success. I just think people need to know that, don't expect a paycheck for the first 6 months. And not a lot of people can operate in that world. People bartend at night, people have side gigs or a spouse that is supporting their family. And, it's a tough business to break into, but it can be very rewarding once you, cross that threshold. That's pointing obviously to newer agents, but, come on in. Obviously there is more than enough business for everybody. And if you can stay committed, it can be rewarding. As far as agents that are in the business, that are maybe not necessarily hitting their goals, find a mentor. I've been so fortunate to have great mentors in my life that have, taught me business, taught me how to, ramp my business up, how to operate with people. So I just think, whether it be a mentor, whether it be a coach, don't be afraid to pay somebody to help you get where you want to go. And when I say pay somebody, I mean in the coaching world. The old cliche term, Michael Jordan had a coach. There's nothing wrong with paying somebody for education to get where you want to be because they've been there. And I think it will just make that entire process a lot easier and quicker, and having somebody that you can lean on and hold you accountable. Accountability is a lot of things. You can't sit on your couch and watch game shows and expect to, sell 50 homes a year.
Sure. I guess following up on that, how did you get into the business, and what did your initial journey look like?
I took a real alternate route to land into the real estate world. Again, I grew up in the South Florida area, the West Coast of Florida, and me and a couple of my knucklehead buddies bought a couple properties that were going to get repoed, and we got them at a good deal. Had zero experience in real estate, zero experience in remodeling, and we flipped 3 properties, fairly quickly, and did well. Realized that if we got licensed in the real estate world, that obviously the profits could increase and we had a little bit more control over the transaction. So essentially, in a nutshell, that's kind of how I fell into real estate, was doing it on my own and, having a passion for it. I enjoyed what we did. I thought it was a really cool experience. And then, it just kind of parlayed from there.
That's great. I mean, that's kind of the dream. Very, very entrepreneurial.
Yeah, it was before entrepreneurial was sexy. We were just dumb and didn't know what we didn't know, and said, "Hey, we got a couple bucks. Let's try to do something." I mean, we were all bartenders at a restaurant, in college, and just did things on the weekends.
That's awesome. That's a great story. I wish I had done that.
And then,
when I got out of college.
Yeah. Well, then, it was funny, to expand on that. Right after that happened, being in South Florida, it was 07, 08. The market just completely fell apart.
Right.
It was disastrous. We saw 50% plus haircuts on a lot of properties because in the market I was in, it's a big second home community. It's a big speculation community. And I aligned myself with a bunch of REO companies because I saw the writing on the wall and knew that was going to be the only thing that was going to move for a couple of years. I mean, obviously, traditional real estate was still happening, but not at a pace like it is today. So I got involved with a ton of REO companies, did 1 million BPOs to break into that industry. And when I left Florida, I was selling 100 plus REOs a year on my own.
Awesome. That sounds great. I mean, that's a good way to take advantage of the situation for sure.
Yeah, but you can burn out very quickly. That's not the business that I want to be involved in. I mean, it was a great learning experience, but traditional real estate is definitely a lot more rewarding.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Well, that's basically all the questions that I have. Is there anything else that you want to kind of say to the crowd before we go?
No, I mean, anybody that's listening, obviously, that if they're looking to, buy or sell real estate, I think, check out reviews, interview agents, and make sure that, whatever professional you're going to hire has the experience and is going to, fit well for your personality to, help you accomplish your goals.
Good stuff. All right, Scott, this has been super helpful. I think that people will enjoy listening to this.
I appreciate it.
Yeah. Have a good one. I will talk to you later.
You as well. Take care.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.